Hello. Today in class, we started writing our introduction. So this is a quick video of your expectations for me. It is going to be very similar to your saints, but different in ways as well. So it shouldn't be too difficult. On Sycamore, you should see this page is attached, hopefully, to this. It's rough draft pages. And then we're working on our introduction. So it says, in this paragraph, you will introduce your reader to the person that you are writing about. You may start your paragraph with a quote, dramatic statement, or by asking a question. Your goal is to capture your reader's attention. This paragraph should let the reader know what they can expect to learn about your person. So the very first thing that you need to start with, and hopefully you've already watched the video, is that you need to start with a quote or a hook. Sorry, you need to start with a hook. A hook needs to be something. It says your goal is to capture your reader's attention. So something that it is exciting. You can start with a quote. Make sure your quote is from your person and it relates to your person and maybe why they're famous. You don't just want some random quote that they randomly said about their family, or maybe it's just a quote. Make sure it relates to your famous Hoosier in some way and why they're famous. You can have a dramatic statement. So if there's a really, really cool fact you want to use to start off and you think is going to grab your reader's attention, you can do that. Just note that once you use a fact, you cannot use it again in your paper because that's just repeating and we don't want to repeat ourselves. That makes your paper very boring. Or you can ask a question, and that's what most of everyone did for their saints question. So you can say, do you know someone who was determined? Can you imagine being on the free throw line at an NBA championship game? Something that gets your reader thinking of maybe someone they know or something that they can imagine. Your question should not be, do you know a famous Hoosier? That cannot be a question. It cannot be, do you know Janet Jackson? It cannot be anything like that. Your first sentence with your hook should not have your famous Hoosier's name. Okay, so I'm going to say it again. Your quote or your fact or your question should not have your famous Hoosier's name. Okay, so for example, here's a really good one from last year. It says, do you know someone who has embodied Indiana basketball during their lifetime? So this gets me thinking, hopefully the reader thinking, okay, Indiana basketball, do I know someone like that who really, really took that to heart during their whole entire life? I do not know who the person is in that first sentence, but I do know that he has something to do with Indiana and it's basketball. Again, this is just an example. It is not perfect, but it is a really good example. I do not copy it. And here's another example that might not be the best, but it kind of gets the point across. She started with a quote that says, I envy people with dreams and passions, but I don't think that way. So you also can start with a quote, something that really says who your person is and what they value. Your second sentence, I'll go back to this one. If you do a question, your second sentence should not answer your question. You're not answering your own questions. Her second sentence was, no one better embodies its toughness or its passion than Bobby Slick Leonard. So your second paragraph needs to have your person's name in it. Okay, and some more descriptions about them. So they say that he is tough or it's Indiana basketball's passion. And we finally figure out, okay, it's Bobby Slick Leonard. So something to that effect. If you also probably want to put why they're famous, that is where too. So she could have put coach Bobby Slick Leonard or announcer Bobby Slick Leonard, something really subtle that helps us the reader to know maybe why, what did he do? Because right now, with these first two sentences, maybe he was a basketball player. Maybe he just really liked basketball. We don't know. So I think it might have been a slight bit better, maybe, if she would just put that one little word in there. But if you want to keep them guessing, then go ahead. But at some point in your introduction paragraph, you need to have why they're kind of famous. But do not state they are famous because. Okay? Then the next two sentences, so your total needs to be 5. Your next two sentences kind of need to be about Indiana. How are they related to Indiana? So she said, Leonard's journey started in the poorest part of Terre Haute. So now we know that he was, without saying that he was born in, but he was grew up in the poor part of Terre Haute, to the nationally acclaimed Basketball Hall of Fame. Ooh, okay, now we know he's in the Basketball Hall of Fame, but we still don't know what for. So I'm like, but it's really good. It tells us that, okay, Terre Haute's in Indiana. We know it's in Indiana. So she did a really good job of getting Indiana in there. So we know why they're a famous Hoosier. It says, no one takes more pride in being a famous Hoosier than Bobby Slick Leonard. So now I know he's from Indiana. We know he's famous. It says and then your last sentence should be, he is Indiana basketball. So it kind of needs to sum up your last sentence. It needs to kind of go back to the first sentence, if that makes sense. The introduction is the hardest part. This is just a rough draft. This is not your final. You need to write it on this page in pencil, please. This whole paragraph should be exciting. It should be one of the most exciting, if not the most exciting paragraph in your whole paper. It gives us kind of a glimpse or maybe a commercial, like on a TV commercial, of who your person is. It doesn't give us too much information, but it gives us enough information to where we want to read more, because that's the ultimate goal. We want everyone to read and want to read your paper. So this paragraph should let the reader know what they can expect to learn. So from that person's paper, expect I'm going to learn what they did, anything about Indiana basketball. Okay, and that's all for today. If you have any questions, please let me know.